All right. Hello and welcome to Messed Up the Setups. I'm Michael Halcomb, and today I'm with comedian Joe Straka. I'm really looking forward to this. This is my first time on Messed Up the Setups to have a guest.
It's all messed up, yeah. Everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.
So, Joe, welcome to the podcast, man. I'm glad to connect with you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and I'm honored to be your first guest on the show.
Yeah, man. So happy New Year, and so you're a comedian. Tell us where you're at currently.
I am in New Jersey, southern New Jersey, the very southern tip of New Jersey, Cape May County. I
All
grew
right.
up in Wildwood, New Jersey, so it's not a hotbed of comedy, but it's one of those things where uh, I got the bug here. There was a little place that brought in some local comedians, and I would go watch them on weekends, and I said, that looks like a lot of fun. So I became friends with the guy that owned the club, and I said, hey, listen, can I do 5 minutes? He says, yeah, well, send me a video, and if you're funny, I'll give you 5 minutes. So I had no idea what I was doing. I did a little video on my phone a little over a year ago, and he said, dude, you're hilarious. You got your 5 minutes. So that was that. The day of that show was Friday, December 15th, 2023. Now, I come
Wow.
from no acting or entertainment background. So I had no idea what I was doing. So I said, I need to do an open mic before I do this show. So I do an open mic December 14th at this pub in Toms River, New Jersey. And unbeknownst to me, I get there and I get set up and I get behind the mic. I'm ready to do my set. And I find that it's a biker bar. And pretty much the whole audience is this notorious New Jersey motorcycle club. And I'm thinking to myself, oh God, I'm going to die. I mean, I'm thinking Mad Max, where they're going to tie me up behind the motorcycles and drive me up and down the street. It just really freaked me out. So, I never did it before. I never did comedy, never did any type of entertainment, any type of live entertainment. And my first gig, I get over the jitters. I'm ready to do it. And then I see this group of guys. I'm thinking, oh, this is bad. One wrong word, and I will never be heard from again.
Well, you survived it.
I did. I actually made a bit out of it, but I know you want to keep things not, you know, It's not a vulgar bit, but I want to keep this, G-rated clean per your instructions.
Well, I appreciate that. So you wound up in a biker bar. That's the thing about comedy, right? Like, you never really know where you're gonna end up. Like sometimes it's the oddest places that comedy will open doors for you, right?
I mean, listen, I've performed in coffee shops. I've performed in biker bars. I've performed in comedy clubs. I actually did an opening set for Steve Trevino at a theater that held 1,200 people. So I've run the gamut from, a two-person audience in a coffee shop to almost 1,000 people at a huge theater in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, opening for Steve Trevino. And I love it. And it doesn't matter. If somebody's there, I want to make them laugh, whether it's one person or 1,000 people. So,
Yeah,
but you're right. You never know where you're going to end up. And me being new, I mean, I literally started a little over a year ago.
yep,
Um,
same.
I get booked all over the east, the Northeast, New England, and part of the Mid Atlantic area, and I have no idea what these places are.
Yeah,
And they've all been great,
yeah,
but it's not what you would expect.
right.
And a
Every
lot.
yeah, every venue's totally different. You know, from the like ambiance and the atmosphere to just the crowd, right? Every venue is so different. I did a New Year's Eve set, and it was at a bar and grill, and literally as soon as the host got up and took the mic, here comes a family with two like 7-year-olds walking in. So that was
Listen, I've
interesting.
had the
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah,
So funny you should mention that because I was doing an open mic early on, and it was at a brewery in my home area in South Jersey, and I'm doing like a 10-minute set because there wasn't many people on mic. They just let me keep going. And there's this one bit that I do about the first time I had sex with a prostitute, and I'm ready to go eat it, and a family walks in with an infant, and I said, I know the infant won't understand it, but I
Yeah.
can't say these words with
Right.
the baby in the audience. So I
Yeah.
changed it up really quick and
Good.
did another bit, but I was no sooner were these words ready to leave my mouth, they walk in, I said, oh, got to pull back.
Yeah.
So
Well, good for you. Good for you. Reading the room, super important. I think it's super important in any like public speaking engagement, but particularly comedy as
yeah,
well. Um, and you have to be able to adjust. You can lose not just a portion of your crowd. You can lose a whole room because the whole room can see the kids walk in,
yeah,
and they're thinking, what's going to happen now, and you make one misstep, you can lose an entire room. I've seen that happen with my own eyes.
yeah.
Um, I was doing a brewery as well, and a kid and his mom, 14, 15-year-old boy, sat right in the front row in this brewery, and the the comic got up and still went 10 minutes of just nasty, and the kid's face was bright pink. His mom's face was bright pink. They looked like they just wanted to call 911 for help, right? Um,
Well, but I I have weird feelings about this. I agree with you. I mean, I've on more than one occasion mid set changed up my material
yeah,
because I knew I could read the crowd and knew the stuff wasn't working or wouldn't work with this particular crowd, so I changed it up. But I think that in general, if you're taking a minor to a comedy show that's in an adult type of venue, like a brewery, a winery, something,
yeah,
or a nightclub, then you got to give them some leeway because I would say the majority of the people in that audience are there to hear whatever's going to come out of their mouth, and if it makes them laugh. And, I'm not one. I mean, I'm not a G-rated comic by any means, but
mm,
I don't use the words. I don't use vulgarity just for shock value.
yeah,
I
right,
tell stories. I tell stories
right,
about things that truly have happened to me in my life, and some of them you just can't say without the words that you need to say.
right,
And but I know there's people out there, like you said, there's some people that just they'll drop the F-bomb, or they'll just for the sake of the shock value. And
yeah, right,
to me, I don't think that's comedy anyway. I think that's
yeah,
just trying to get laughs from being as shocking as possible,
yeah,
which to me isn't funny.
exactly,
George Carlin made it an art. The 7 words you can't say on television. When I was a kid,
right,
now I can say all those words on television, but that's how old I am.
right, yeah.
63, if anybody's wondering.
63. So you grew up in Jersey?
I'm here my whole life, South Jersey, Wildwood, New Jersey. Now I live in Upper Township, New Jersey. But yeah, I'm here my whole life.
So you grew up in Jersey, and so we just connected a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
I saw a picture that you posted on Facebook, um, something along the lines of another Christmas without my wife. Tell us a little bit about that story, if you.
I
you
was I got married young. Renee was 23. I was 21. We eloped. I have a typical Italian mother that there was no woman, girl good enough for her little Joey. So we eloped, and we had a great life. I mean, I have a son. He's 33. She was a brilliant attorney. She was a partner in a law firm, and we had a great life. And unfortunately, she got diagnosed with cancer, and over 2 years she fought it, but couldn't beat it. And it stinks. It's my new reality, but I don't. She would be very upset if I let her death hold me back. In
hmm,
fact, to a certain degree, her her not being here motivates me that much more because I feel like I have to work for the both of us now.
wow,
And so it's And one thing, I mean, she was, we got together. She was in law school. I mean, we were young when we got married. But, as like we got older and she, became very prominent in the legal community. She's a very beautiful woman. I said, just out of curiosity, I'm a balding, fat Italian guy. You're gorgeous. You're smart. You're independently wealthy. Why do you stay with me? She looked at me. She said, I love you because you make me feel safe and you make me laugh. So I guess I've
Wow.
always had that natural ability to make people laugh. And people always are laughing. I mean, one girl at my gym, when she walks in, she just looks at me and starts laughing. She says, I know you're going to think it's funny. And I'm starting to get a complex, but, it's just, I think it's just, I think those of us that do what we do, to a certain degree, we're born with just a different way to look at things and present things, and we try to take the absurd and make it funny.
Mm,
uh it's a challenge, and I love the challenge. I love to be able, there's no better feeling. Well, there's are better feelings, but one of the best feelings I've had is walking off stage with the crowd still laughing and
yeah.
applauding. It's just really, um, it's a fun, uh, it's a fun feeling, and it's like, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
It's not like you're a band and the whole band coordinated. One
Right.
guy up there facing down 10 people, 100 people, whatever,
Right.
and if you don't make them laugh, you really have a lot of egg on your face. But when you have that roar of laughter from the majority of that crowd, it's a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
It's hard to explain, isn't it? Like, yeah, it's one thing. I've done a lot of preaching in my life. I've done a lot of conference speaking, and it's cool, when you get kind words after a sermon, or when you get, a clap after a conference paper. But it's totally different to get a room laughing, and then to get that roar at the end that you're talking about, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just, there really isn't a way to. You have to experience it. It's not, you could talk about it, you could explain it, but if you don't experience it for yourself, and I'm always sort of, oh my God, aren't you scared? Aren't you nervous? I said, no. I just get up there. Like I'm talking to you. That's how I look at it. I'm up there
right.
talking to the crowd. Like I'm really telling the story like I would tell you if we were sitting having a cup
Right.
of coffee.
Yeah.
No different other than it's shortened, abbreviated, for
Yeah.
to keep the show moving and not be too long on a bit. But for the most part, it's just me having a conversation with the audience. And to me, there's nothing nervous about that. I don't really, like I tell people, I got into this. I know people that took courses and they have coaches. I literally woke up one morning in December and said, I'm sick of dating crazy women. I want to do something fun. How about stand up comedy? How hard could that be? And this is after, a couple of months going on weekends to see these comics, this club in Wildwood. And I said, these guys are good. They're funny, but I think I could do that. And,
Mhm.
I dated some pretty crazy women. And I'm dating a crazy one now, but at least she's supportive of my comedy, and she's a great person, and we get along great. And you know, that's
That's excellent. So let
my
me let me
motivation.
let me circle back to a couple of things that you just sort of touched on there. One is bombing, right? So you mentioned, like, oh, people asking you, don't you get scared? It's the same thing, right? People, I could never do that, or you get the opposite. I'd love to do that. I'd love to try. And I'm always encouraging people when they say that. Well, try it. So uh, certainly, like, there have been times in the last year. By the way, I started on December 28th of 2023. That's when I just
Right.
decided I'm gonna go for it. And so you're about 2 weeks ahead of me. So you
All
know,
right. Junior.
so um, but there have been definitely been times in the last year when I've been performing, I've told a joke and it hasn't hit, right? And there have been those times where I've told a joke in one venue to one audience and it's hit. And I've told the same joke in another venue to another audience and it didn't hit, which is always such an interesting thing to me. And that the fear of that bomb, like people not laughing, is kind of what a little bit of probably what kept me away from doing it for a while. I've always, for a long time, wanted to do this, but I've realized that that's not nearly as terrifying or intimidating uh, when it happens as it is like thinking about it happening. Do you have a similar experience, or what's your experience
You
with that?
know, I I have sets where it didn't go as well as I thought. Um, and I think some of like I did a show 9 months ago, and it was a very small crowd, and the bulk of the crowd was there to see one comic.
Hmm.
So, you know, her style of comedy was totally different than my style of comedy, so my stuff wasn't hitting, and I really didn't have anything in my repertoire to change it to get them to something they'd like. So I just
Hmm.
finished it, and and stuff like that's gonna happen. But I let people say, "Oh, you like bigger crowds or smaller crowds?" And I definitely like bigger crowds for two reasons. Number one, if you have a bigger crowd, some people are going to like what you're
Right.
doing, and they're going to laugh, and laughter is contagious.
Yeah.
So if you can get 20 people out of 100 laughing, next thing you know, half the room at least is going to laugh. And I'm happy with that. That's 50% success rate. But
Yeah.
I mean, when you have the whole room laughing, when you have everybody laughing, and like you said, people come up to you afterwards. But I don't worry about it. I always think positive, and like you said, I'll reflect on, okay, why didn't it hit as well tonight? And it, there could be a number of reasons. If I was bombing night after night after night, I would just say, okay, this isn't for me. I'm not funny. I'm not as funny as I thought. I don't think the stories are as funny. Or maybe I have to take two steps backwards, rewrite the stuff, and go back to open mics and see if I can, tweak it. But um, I've I've never not had the confidence to say, hey, I could go up there and do
Right.
this. Whether I'll be successful, that's a whole other story. But I
Right.
mean, I did 63 shows, not including
Amazing.
I did 3 shows at the Meadowlands Comedy Festival. I did a show at the Ugly Pancake Comedy Festival. I did the Funniest Person Delmarva Comedy Company. So outside of all those and outside of all the open mics, I did 63 actual shows in my first year.
It's
And
crazy.
I would say over 50 were what I think anybody in comedy would consider successful. And I've been to
Hmm.
some crazy venues that I truly don't know how the heck I got on these stages. But I performed at Rodney's in New York City, which is the old Dangerfields. I've performed at Comic Strip Live in New York City, Broadway Comedy Club in New York City, Governor's Comedy Club in Long Island. I've performed at Tropicana Hotel and Casino in
Hmm.
Atlantic City. So, these are stages that people 2, 3, 4 years in are just getting invited to, and I've already built a following in these venues, which is it's pretty cool to be able to say, hey, I did this all within my first year.
It's amazing.
I
Yeah.
take it serious. Everybody thinks, oh, it's funny. It's very serious. And like we were
Yeah.
talking before we started the tape, one of my process. Can we get into this? How
Yeah.
the writing process?
Yeah.
So everything that I talk about is based in some part reality. It's something I've experienced. It's something that I've seen. It's something that I've been involved with. And then, of course, you have to embellish to really make the story, make it funny.
Right.
But everything starts as reality.
Right.
So, the iPhone is the best tool for a comic. I mean, you have your voice memos if you're driving, and if you don't, you have your notes. And I'll just put bullet points. I'll just say bullet points or write bullet points. Then I'll get home, and then I write it out, and then I whiteboard it. And then, on the whiteboard, I basically use black ink for, the words that I could change around, and red ink for the words that have to stay that make the joke.
Hmm.
And then I just kind of read it, rework it, and get it to where I think it's going to be funny. And I don't do that many open mics anymore because I've just been so busy with shows. So I'll just pepper something new into a show and see how it goes. And it might work, might not work as well the first time, and then I can tighten it up. And but most of the time you can work that stuff in. I don't like open mics. I don't know about where you're at, but to me, I've had as much experience where comics steal other comics material, not
Mm,
necessarily mine, but I've seen other comics do stuff that somebody else did at an open mic, and I thought,
mm,
that to me is like, beyond lazy. It's just
yeah,
and I'm not going to call anybody out on it, but unless if it was my material, then I would call them out on it. But
yeah.
it's just I just find that open mics in this area are a breeding ground for lazy comics or hack comics
Mm,
to steal your material.
yeah, yeah. It's hard. So I right now I live in Hawaii. Right, I'm on an island, Oahu, and um, the comedy scene's pretty small here. Some really good comics, but there aren't a lot of shows. There's quite a few open mics. And most of the people showing up to the mics are comics, and they'll do their minutes and then they'll leave. And comics are sometimes the hardest to get laughs out of, anyways. Um, so you're doing these mics. It's hard to get laughs sometimes because comics in the room. They'll do their bit and they'll leave, or while you're up doing yours, they're itching to do theirs, so they're looking through their notes or their cards or their jokes, and so uh, the mic scenes are interesting. I don't benefit from those as much as I wish I did, but um, yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I would agree with that. Comics, comics try hard not to laugh at other comics, and I've come to understand that's just the way it is. So if I'm going to a mic and it's mainly comics or all comics, I'm not looking for laughs. I'm just looking to hear myself work out material in front of
Right.
a crowd, see if I get any kind of response, and see. I'll record it and then I'll bounce it back and
Yeah.
say, okay, I should have changed this, I should have changed that.
Yeah.
And there's maybe one or two mics in my area where people are. It's more like a workshop, and not that I super trust everybody there, but I think that they know if they lift somebody's material, it's going to get back, and they'll get banned from this particular mic. And you don't want to get on this guy's wrong side because he
Mm,
puts on shows, puts on festivals, is a very good person to know in
right.
South Jersey comedy scene. And, so I still go to his mic when I can. In fact, I'm going up in February. He actually, I'm going up to, do the mic, but he also asked me to come up. He wants me to do like a presentation on how I'm getting all these bookings. And I tell people, it's real simple. Like I'm on every Facebook group and, for comedy and comedians, and I'll see a post for a show.
Yeah.
And I'll just hit it and see who the producer is. Reach out to the producer. I'll look them up, find, search that. If I don't have them already in my database, I'll search them. Reach out, introduce myself, send them my website address, which has all my info, and then a link to. Right now I'm sending out a link that I did about a 4.5-5 minute set I did at Broadway Comedy Club back in December. That was really great, and I've been getting a lot of bookings from that. I've got 9 bookings already for 2025
Amazing.
for shows. I'm booked all the way out. I've got shows booked into June. So I just booked a show for June 20th today from that exact reaching out to this person. And it just so happened the person, one of the bookers, is somebody that I performed with last Saturday in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, not realizing she was one of the bookers there. Yeah, there's the site. There's the,
Yeah.
and it's, I need some updating. But I think I have everything covered in there. It's got my show dates, it's got my bio, it's got some video clips, pictures. Uh, my podcast interviews for different podcasts. I've had several articles written about me, so the links to the articles are in there. So it's really I try to do as much as I can in that. And this is more of a B2B thing, not so much for fans. This is more of a B2B,
Yeah.
for bookers to take a look at and say, okay, who is this guy? And so, but, anybody could go to it. I don't really care, but I set it up with, bookers and show producers in mind. What info would they want? Almost like an EPK, a little bit more
Right.
expensive
Right.
EPK. And so I just and that's what I do. I just reach out. I just reach out to them, and about a 70% rejection rate, 30% success rate, which is it's great. I mean, to me, oh
Yeah.
my God, that's a large rejection rate. You know what? I'm busy. If I can
Right.
keep 70-30 ratio through the year, I'll probably do over 100 shows this year, and I'd love that. If I could break 100, I would love it.
Amazing. Well, it sounds like you're organized, right? I think that's really important. Sounds like you got in your joke writing, you have a process. In your booking, you have a process, and all that business side of comedies, uh, really important and interesting as well. And the connections, you mentioned, I just did a show, and this was somebody you was booking. But fostering those connections, yeah,
So
sure,
I I have a business card.
okay,
Vistaprint, $30. It's got my name, cell number, address, and then on the back it's got a QR code and a link to
nice,
my social media sites. So every time I go to a show, I try to give these out to every comic, the producer, the venue manager or owner, and this way you give them something and they, oh, well, who's
right,
that guy that was here? Oh, he gave me a card. Let me find, this is the, and it again, you say that I come from the business world. I mean, I have a degree in accounting, and I still own a small one-man mortgage brokerage company. So I come from the business world. I don't come from the entertainment world. So I do have that business way of thinking. So to me, networking is the number one asset anybody can have in
yeah,
this business. Is get to know everybody, get their names, their emails, reach out to everybody, and that's what um, I feel my strength is for the business side of it is coming from business background, and I think it's important that comedians have a certain idea of what to do. I mean, not everybody has the
yeah,
money, but 30 bucks. Those business cards cost $30. I
right,
mean,
right,
everybody can come up with $30, and and all the social media sites are for free. You don't need a website in the beginning. If you have all your social media sites, but you should have one or two really good quality clips that you send out to bookers and producers, and everything else you can just post on your social media. The quality doesn't have to be great, but the stuff you send out to bookers, I mean, they need to know you're professional, because I will tell you, one of the things I think that I've been able to get so far so fast is I treat it as a business. I treat it professionally. It's not a hobby.
right,
It's not, oh, I'm just fooling around. I'm just, hey, I'm I'm looking to get as far in this business as I possibly can, and time is not on my side. Being 63, so I've got to fast track it. But I thought, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. And there's a few people, put a little target on my back and said, well, you're not paying your dues. You're not doing this. I said, listen, first of all, this is comedy. There are no
right,
rules. So let's get this out. There are no rules. There is no dues. There is no, my dues is the fact that, hey, I write, I rewrite, I get laughs, I do a good job on stage, I show up on time. I'm not one of these guys that shows up halfway through the show, and I'm the
right,
headliner. I'm just gonna do my thing and then bug out. And there's people like that. I treat it as a professional business, and someday maybe it'll pay off. If it doesn't, I'm having fun.
yeah,
Nobody can ever take that fun away from me.
right.
And
Man, I
that's
love hearing that. And one of the and this happens outside of the comedy realm too, but just haters, right? They see somebody getting a little bit of momentum or a little bit of movement, a little bit of success, and they're gonna hate, you know. Um, and so I'm glad you're not doing that. I think doing that really in the long run just it's gonna hurt that person, right? Because they're burning a networking opportunity, or they're gonna make an enemy, or they're gonna make themselves look stupid. Um, you know,
I the thing when a couple of people have tried to call me out on jumping the line for lack of a better term. I said, look, I'm always here, man. Look at what I'm doing. If I were you and you feel that I'm getting ahead faster than I should, wouldn't you want to be my friend and pick my brain and say, how
Right.
are you doing it?
Right.
Rather than pissing me off and saying, hey, man, I would bend over backwards to help anybody in this business.
Right.
But if you talk behind my back or talk about me online, then you made an enemy. And not that I'm going to ever do anything, but I'm not going to help you.
Right.
And why burn that bridge? Like you said, why
Exactly.
in the world would you want to burn? And listen, I love everybody that I come across. I try to help everybody that I come across. I think my strength with even seasoned comics is helping them with the business side, business
Right
advice.
on.
This is, because there's guys doing this 3, 4, 5 years that can't get in places I've already performed at.
Hmm.
And I tell them, this is how I do it.
Right.
It's
Right.
no, I'm not paying anybody off. I'm persistent. There's a phrase I always like to use. There's a fine line between persistence and being a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And, as long as you stay on just the persistent side of that line, people know, hey, he's serious. He gets back to us. He's not bugging us every 3 days, every 2 days, a week. I kind of know when to time it. When
Right.
should I follow up with this person? And, and then, like I said, 70% say no. And I'm fine with that. My comedy's not for everybody.
Right.
But like the place I booked today for the show in June, they were like, "Oh my God, we love your stuff. You're perfect for this venue. We can't wait to have you."
Awesome.
Cool. And so it's nice to get that feedback where people are looking at your video and saying, "Hey, this guy, we want this guy."
Right. Right. Awesome, man. Well, I think the way I'm gonna do the podcast here is we'll wrap up part one, and then
Okay.
in part two. So for everybody who's watching or listening, in part two, what Joe and I are gonna do, he's gonna share a joke that he's told, or that is a complete joke, and tell us how he got to that point, and then we're actually gonna just try to write a joke together. So see how far we can get with that. So we're gonna close out part one here, and then we're gonna bring part two. And so be sure to stay tuned for that, because part two will drop probably a couple days after this part one episode. So yeah, check out SkrakaEntertainmentGroup.com, and Joe's on Facebook as well, so follow him on there, and check out some of what he's doing a lot of great stuff. But be sure to check out the next part of the podcast, where we've been talking nuts and bolts of comedy, but now we're going to get down into the joke stuff. So, all right.
It's all messed up, yeah. Everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.